Hey guys, it's Paul here, the Impulsive Culinarian, and in this video I want to tell you all about my gluten-free Penne alla Napoletana recipe. Gluten-free Penne alla Napoletana. Wow, that's a mouthful. What is this all about? So the penne that we're using store-bought gluten-free pasta in this recipe. I'm going to put a link up to a video here of my homemade gluten-free pasta, which is super simple to make. And the thing about homemade pasta is that it's easy to do lasagna sheets, spaghetti noodles, or tagliatelle-sized linguine noodles. But when you get into these sort of extruded pastas, and what I mean by extruded is this shape like this, you know, tubes and macaronis, stuff that you could never do in a pasta maker. And the reason that I want to use that kind of tubular pasta is because it really captures the sauce and it just sort of gets in there in the middle of the tube of the pasta, and it's so delicious when you can get that kind of a texture involved with a dish like this. Now, the making of the dish, of the alla Napoletana, what this is all about, it's a traditional Italian way to cook sauce using a base of onions. And you want those onions to be caramelized over time. So the time invested in this, the longer you can spend investing time in this sauce, the better it's going to taste. And believe me, I spent the time. Let's get to it. So here's a dish that's all about the process. It almost doesn't matter what kind of pasta you use, but start off with 2.5 pounds of yellow onions, 2 celery stalks and 1 carrot, 4 ounces of good quality pancetta, as well as 1 pound of chuck beef cubes. Now, this is not actually going to make it into the final recipe, but once it's done stewing in this concoction, you'll be able to use it for a different recipe afterwards. Get a cup of white wine, as well as a 1/4 teaspoon or a pinch of kosher salt and some freshly ground black pepper. And then, of course, 8 ounces of any gluten-free pasta. I prefer penne because it really allows the sauce to get inside each of the noodles. And there you go. Let's start the process. So begin by taking your carrot and your celery and put those in a food processor, as well as half of the onions. Listen, mine doesn't fit the whole batch, so I have to go in 2 shots. Pulse these as well, scrape down the sides with a spatula so that you get everything into the smallest possible mince that you can. That's the texture that you're looking for right there. And so once you've done batch number 1, then you want to add the rest of your onions and do batch number 2, the same texture, same process, pulse it a few times and scraping down as you go along. So put all of this into a bowl, mix it all together, and that's going to be basically, that's the sauce. That's what it really comes from, is this melange of vegetables. Now, you want to season your beef with salt and pepper generously on all sides. Make sure that add a freshly ground black pepper in there. And this is going to be the flavor that's going to be infused into your onions and vegetables. So get yourself a good sturdy Dutch oven, something that's going to stand up to stewing for hours at a time on your stovetop. So add in your pancetta bacon, get this over medium heat, and you want to cook this, saute it for around 5 minutes or so that the bacon gets nice and crispy, just a little cook through like that. And you want to reserve those pancetta drippings at the bottom. You leave that flavor in there, but you definitely want to transfer the bacon out for the next step so you can brown your cubes of chuck beef. Add a little bit of olive oil if you feel that there's not enough in there from the bacon, and you want to brown these beef chuck cubes on all sides. You don't want to leave any pink on those beautiful cubes of meat, so brown them on all sides of the cubes. And once they are brown all around, then you want to reserve them, move them over to a separate plate, and set them aside until they're ready to go back in the pot. But there's a couple of things to do next. So add that onion mixture with carrots and celery that you've put in the food processor, and just the natural moisture from these vegetables, it's going to deglaze the bottom of your pan just naturally. So you want to stir that around, get all the flavor out from the bottom, and then, of course, simmer these for around 10 minutes or so until they start to get soft. Now, this is stage 1, let's call it. All right. So at the end of stage 1, you want to add in your bacon back into the mixture, and then the juice, reserved juices from those beautiful beef cubes, lots of great flavor in there. And then you want to push these down into the onion mixture. This is the stew that's going to come out with the most delectable flavor. Add in your cup of white wine and bring this to a gentle simmer. You want to make sure that that beef is completely submerged down into that mixture. And once you start to see it simmering just ever so lightly, you want to cover that up and bring it down to medium-low and simmer for 4 hours. 4 hours later, carefully remove that very hot lid, and you're going to see that even the onions have sort of changed color a little bit. They've gotten a little bit golden. Now the beef has done its job. This beautiful braised stewed beef, set it aside and use it for another recipe. That's right, it doesn't go back in here. And now you want to crank the heat up to medium high. And this is where you're going to reduce this sauce down for around 40 minutes. Get all of that liquid out of the onions. And because you're using a fairly high heat, you want to stir quite frequently, at least every couple of minutes or so, just to make sure that nothing sticks to the bottom. Now, at the end of that 40-minute process, look at this wonderful texture. This is ready to serve, okay? So you can season it, mix it up, add in your pasta, and this is a nice, I would say, golden color. But guys, you can do more. If you have the patience and the time to let this simmer for another 2, 3, even 4 hours, then do so. I promise you will not be disappointed. Get the lid back on, and over low heat, very low, you want to let these onions caramelize, and look what happens. This wonderfully flavorful and sweet onion, caramelized onion mixture is a true alla Napoletana sauce. So wonderful. And if you can do this for another 2 hours even, I highly recommend. That's exactly what I did. Now you see how that dark nutty brown color, I let it go even more because I wanted to prove that it is just even better every single iteration of these 2 hours of caramelization. Look at that. That's as far as I was willing to take it. I think a full 7 or 8 hours of stewing, and look at that dark, dark color. Such a rich, nutty flavor. So powerful and unmistakable. A true alla Napoletana. And so now it's time to boil the pasta. This takes 10 minutes of your time after working an entire day on the sauce. Bring your heavily salted water to a boil, follow the package instructions, and your penne or whatever pasta that you've decided to endow into this wonderful sauce. You want to drain out your cooked pasta, make sure that it's really well cooked, but do not rinse it. Leave it hot and a little bit starchy, because this is going to really make it all come together. So that's when you put the pasta right into this wonderful caramelized onion sauce, alla Napoletana, mix it up really well. You can transfer it to a serving dish if you like, or serve it up right here in the Dutch oven that did all the hard work. And of course, you got to garnish this with something. I had a little parsley. Buon appetito. So guys, thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. 3 great videos coming out every single week. One based on international cuisine, setting the tone for all of the recipes that are coming out in that series, and a second one based on allergen-friendly cooking like you're watching today. And allergen-friendly doesn't have to mean boring. Believe me, if you do a special showstopper like this one, live to impress, and they will come back for more. A third recipe video we do each week here is a healthy recipe, because we should all be living our best life possible. And guys, I'd love it if you checked out my weekly IC podcast. It's available on Apple Podcasts and all of the other networks where you can find audio content like this. I'd love it if you checked into the show, and I will catch you in the next video.